Okay, we are live.
Yes. Welcome, everybody.
Happy
Beautiful
Sunday. Oh, I need
sun.
to pin us, Nancy. Whoopsie. There we are. Now we're live.
We're excited for another gathering with you live and in the recording. Thank you. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this tradition. It's been a year that we've been doing this. This is incredible.
Oh,
Yes, we
beautiful.
started. So we're going to start with lighting our candles. If you have a candle, you can light it. If you don't have one, you can imagine having a candle and let's light it together to enter the soul field. And as we are entering the soul field, we're going to hold with us those who couldn't join us live. We're going to open the portal of divine perfection. And in this portal, you can release all of the energies or anything that you feel complete with. This is like an energy recycling center. Whatever no longer serving you, whatever you want to have it held while you're here with us, use this temple of divine perfection to hold everything for you, for us, for everybody, as you are soaking into this beautiful soul field. And we're going to start with our prayers.
We come with grateful, reverent, and open hearts to drink from the deep well of our eternal nature. As we dive into the soul field together, we are held within a sacred and holy embrace by the source of all love, light, and grace. In this eternal now, we actively invoke our unique pathways to source and to the beings of love light that support our divine evolving. We allow our mind, body, spirit to expand into the holy realms where magic and miracles are commonplace. As we minister to ourselves, we minister to one another and our family humanity. We recognize that we are one in the holy wholeness. We allow all we do here today to ripple out through our lives as a living witness of divine grace for the benefit of all our relations.
Venimos con corazones agradecidos, reverentes y abiertos a beber del profundo pozo de nuestra naturaleza eterna. A medida que nos sumergimos juntos en el campo del alma, somos sagradamente acogidos por la fuente de todo amor, luz y gracia divina. En este ahora eterno, pedimos que se abran nuestros caminos hacia el Creador, junto con los seres de amor y luz que apoyan nuestra evolución divina. Permitimos que nuestra mente, cuerpo y espíritu se expandan hacia los reinos sagrados, donde la magia y los milagros ocurren constantemente. A medida que atendemos nuestras propias necesidades, asimismo atendemos el uno al otro y a toda nuestra familia humana, reconociendo que somos uno en la totalidad sagrada. Permitamos que todo lo que se haga aquí hoy continúe fluyendo en nuestras vidas como un testimonio vivo de la gracia divina para el beneficio de todos. Mm.
So let's just take a moment as we let that prayer ripple through and you feel yourself truly entering the soul field. Could maybe even place hands on heart and belly. Come into breath. Landing in the body, landing in the body and feeling the body harmonize even more fully with our beloved earth. Feeling a sense of landing And as you do, as you allow that and you feel that earth connection harmonizing, you start to feel it's just natural. Your soul light starts to glow with more ease. And with intention, you can connect more fully through your unique spiritual pathway. And in the breath and in the connection with the invocation that we made of our guides and guardians, we just open into a moment of sacred listening. What's here today? What am I bringing? What am I needing? And when the listening feels complete for now, staying connected to all that's been cultivated in our opening, can make a gentle and easy transition. And maybe take a moment and just put a little note in the chat about what's here, what's in our field today. And I'm going to pause the recording in case anybody wants to speak a word, just a word or two into the field. What's here?
Awesome. So we'll start with our affirmations. As if you remember from our previous gatherings, we're going to tap the sternum, the K27 meridian point, or we rub the meridian points in our earlobes as we repeat the prayer. Can you see the prayer?
Yes.
Okay. I release with grace the cultural imperatives and captivity that cause me to live outside of my authenticity.
I
I
release
release
with
with grace
grace the
cultural
cultural imperatives and captivity
activity that
that
caused
cause me
me
to
to live
live
outside
outside my authenticity.
authenticity.
I open to the pleasure that arises from this freedom.
I open to the pleasure that arises from this freedom.
I joyfully claim full responsibility for living the power of my I am presence.
I joyfully claim full responsibility for living the power of my I am presence.
As I remember and revere who I truly am, my embodiment encourages others to honor and live their true self-worth.
As I remember and revere who I truly am, my embodiment encourages others to honor and live their true self-worth.
I release with grace the cultural imperatives and captivity that cause me to live outside of my authenticity.
I release with grace the cultural imperatives and captivity that cause me to live outside my authenticity.
I open to the pleasure that arises from this freedom.
I open to the pleasure that arises from this freedom.
I joyfully claim full responsibility for living the power of my I am presence.
I joyfully claim full responsibility for living the power of my I am presence.
As I remember and revere who I truly am, my embodiment encourages others to honor and live their true self-worth.
As I remember and revere who I truly am, my embodiment encourages others to honor and live their true self-worth.
I release with grace the cultural imperatives and captivity that cause me to live outside of my authenticity.
I release with grace the cultural imperatives and captivity that cause me to live outside of my authenticity.
I open to the pleasure that arises from this freedom.
I open to the pleasure that arises from this freedom.
I joyfully claim full responsibility for living the power of my I am presence.
I joyfully claim full responsibility for living the power of my I am presence.
As I remember and revere who I truly am, my embodiment encourages others to honor and live their true self-worth.
As I remember and revere who I truly am, my embodiment causes others to remember and live their true self worth.
Ooh, that hit different, huh?
Yes, that really was emotional today. Did anybody else feel it? Raise your hand. Whew, we were in that.
Holy cow,
Oh
yes.
my gosh. Yeah,
So we're going to
we're
continue our series of activating our true self-worth, living in soul reverence. And part of the series is remembering how to connect to that part of ourselves because as we're progressing through this evolution and this awakening, I guess is a good word to say, we are understanding that there are times when we don't honor ourselves,
mhm,
where we are doing a lot of things outside of ourselves, and we forget to honor our worth, our true self-worth. And this true self-worth is not what we do or who we are. Our true self-worth, it goes beyond the the experiences outside of us.
yeah,
True self-worth comes from that,
mm,
from the deepest levels of our being. This is where we call the I am.
yeah. Yes, we're talking about the energy beyond the doing, the energy beyond the cultural value system, the egoic or the personality value system that looks for certain milestones or certain achievements or certain kinds of belonging in particular ways. And we're talking about the innate worthiness, the innate magnificence of who we really are. And in some ways, to get to that, we have to strip off the layers of acculturation. And so we talked about that last time. And today we're going to talk about the inheritances or even the energies that we bring with us from other dimensions and time spaces that become kind of sources of either reverence of the true self or dishonoring of the true self. And in particular, today, we're focusing a little bit on those places that create the dishonoring. What happens in those inheritances or those energies that we bring with us that cause us to not be able to live reverently with the truth of like, I am this exquisite divine perfection, and the very nature of my being here in and of itself is the value. And the value truly comes from being as I am, not being as the culture would have me be, or the inheritance would have me be, or the other time spaces necessarily would have me be. Right?
Yeah. So what happens very often is our sense of self-worth is partly the way that we were raised, partly society, partly our traumatic experiences, but often it comes from generational self-worth. If I think a certain way about myself, most likely my parents, my caretakers, thought about themselves maybe worse, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, and
Mhm.
caretakers. So this gets passed down through the DNA. And
Mhm.
we wonder, like, why am I feeling this way? We work so hard at improving ourselves. We go to therapy, we do this traumatic thing, we deal with so much. And all of that is really important for sure. It's really helpful. But we need to also take into consideration that in our DNA, we have a set of families that have suffered and they probably haven't worked on their self-worth. And all of that gets passed down. If you know about epigenetics, you'll probably know that there are certain characteristics that get passed down through the genes. If your grandparents were in the war, they're going to develop a certain anxiety or way of thinking, and you could be experiencing that anxiety and that way of thinking as well without the war around you. So this is a very scientific way as well as it is a very spiritual way. The
Mhm.
things that get passed down are not just emotions and physical attributes, but also rejection of ourselves, shame, blame, guilt, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, and so in addition to these sort of lineage inheritances, and you may already be tracking some of your own lineage inheritances as you think about your parents, your grandparents, etc. We also have, in the context of our family of origin, we also have the sort of experience about how much permission there was in our lineage for authenticity versus how much there was a demand for an adherence to a particular way, right? And so a lot of times, and this is separate, it probably connects to whatever the history is, whatever those things in the past lineage relate to. But this is sort of its own area where it's like, how much permission did you have as a child to be as you were? And how much permission did you see your parents give themselves or your caretakers give themselves to be as they were versus to, I have to do this because that's what that one expects of me or that's what culture expects of me. Right? So that capacity for permission for authenticity is also part of our inheritance quite often.
Yeah. And as we are acknowledging what we're coming from, what we're bringing guilt, rejection, shame, etc. I I also want to say that we are also bringing self-love in some ways and
Totally.
kindness and compassion. I can't just say that my parents were all this, whatever, rigid people, etc. They also had love for friendships and they gave in some ways. And so I want us to acknowledge both. It's not just one part, is both of traditions and experiences and things that build us. And also, we can change. I have tried really hard to not transmit a lot of the stuff to my daughter so she doesn't suffer the way that I did. And but it's so hard sometimes because we don't see certain things and not everything can be changed. And so as we are giving ourselves this space to recognize the ways in which we are bringing generational experiences of self-worth, we also have to have compassion for the way that we are experiencing life and knowing that, yes, it's possible. And it goes into many other dimensions as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you're speaking to that. I mean, we're sort of in some ways focused on the shadow of what we inherit because that's what gets in the way of our authenticity, but in terms of what promotes our authenticity too, right? I can't imagine that anybody would be on this call here if they didn't have something, be it something we would call positive or something negative, in their inheritance that spurred them. Like, you wouldn't even be on a call like this. You wouldn't even be drawn to something like this, right? So there is magic in our inheritance as well. And certainly we don't mean to only be like, oh, we all get all this bad stuff. We get amazing stuff. And the other thing that we want to speak about just briefly, and then we really want to go into experience today, is that we also can bring with us energy from other dimensions. And so, what we mean by this is some people might call this past life energy. The reason why Nancy and I are calling it other dimensional energy is because, in the context of quantum physics, there's really no past or future. There's only one eternal now moment. And in that eternal now moment, all time spaces exist. And so we, in this linear system that we are in, we experience things as past and future. Um, but there are things that we have from these sort of past lives or other dimensions that are sometimes, in some ways, in this incarnation, in this experience of body, or in this time space, limiting our I amness or calling us into our I amness, right? And so sometimes we have these things we call, often in the popular culture, it would be called past life trauma. And, really what we want to say is, yes, but those past life experiences or those other dimensional experiences, they have some kind of golden code in them, either something that's needing to be released so we can be fully in this now moment who we are, or something that's needing to be retrieved, or both, right?
Yeah. And so in some traditions, they call it karma, in others, sins. And so acknowledging the different traditions, what we want to bring is awareness that as we are playing the movie of our life, we can choose to play a different movie, but there are times when we're putting on the same scene, in the player, and the scenes are the things that we need to maybe pay attention to. In what ways can we support ourselves or shift or take? So these are the pieces that we are talking about, these dynamics that are here in this now that needs our attention and support, that needs balancing or remembrance.
Um, I'll give a little example here. It's actually a pretty big example, but um, there's a particular remembrance of an other dimensional time space that has been really instrumental for me in this life. And it's been instrumental in that the way the memory came in with what would look like a lot of difficulty, a pretty severe car accident, some sort of challenging occurrences. But what was trying to happen was like, hey, there's something here, there's something really profound here. And actually, in the remembrance of that time space, I was able to see that the car accident that I'm speaking to happened on the exact day, and the time was the year of the thing that happened in that incarnation. It was a very big trauma. It was a leader in a particular way, and over 15,000 of my people were murdered in a massacre. And that sort of opened up these things that were trying to release in me. But it was also a very powerful remembrance of who I am, of that I am presence, of like, oh, yes, this is also who I am. And more recently, this is years and years ago that this happened, but in the early 2000s, um, but more recently, I was guided to journey back to that time space, or to that time space if we hold that quantum field. And I was kind of like, why am I going here? I feel like I've kind of captured everything I could possibly capture from this other dimension. And I get there, and there's these two huge beacons of light. And I was like, oh, and they say to me, we are star beacons. And I'm like, I see that. And they said, we want to come back with you into the time space where you are now to support you in your work. And so they journeyed back across the dimensions with me. And they now work with my clients, and I'm sure they've worked with all of you at different times. And these beings of the stars, star beacons, that are here to support healing and evolution. There's particular veins, and that's a story for another time. But the point being, like, these experiences of our I am are way more complex and multidimensional than we often know. And all of life is actually conspiring, both the looking at and seeing the our earth parent inheritances, and also the like nature of who we are, and where where that sparks in other dimensions and time spaces. And these are all here ultimately in service to the capacity to be with ease and grace fully who we are.
Yes. And we're not intending for you to go get a past life regression or anything like that. We are letting you know that these dimensions are all in existence. And with the simplicity of your intention, you can actually tap into all of this.
Yeah.
You can tap into all of the dimensions that need balancing. And so with that, we're going to then go towards a meditation and transformational support to help you integrate all of these dimensions, all of the generational experiences, and tap into a little bit more in the I am present in your heart.
Yeah, I'm so glad you spoke to that, Nancy, because people often think it has to be like I tell a story like that, and then it has to be, sort of with the fringe on top, so to speak. And some people have experience like that. They have vision in that way, and some people don't. But it doesn't mean we can't still cleanse and clear the things that are needing to be released and activate and integrate the things that support us, right? And it may come in fantastical ways for you. It may come in a dream. It may come because you have a very profound experience, or you come to, these awarenesses that are sort of beyond what we might call normal sense perception. But nonetheless, that intentionality and the entering into a field that is holding consciousness as the soul field is allows for that reorganization. So we'll intend that together today in whatever
Yes,
way serves each of us.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. So as you are joining us in mind and also dimensions and spirit, find a comfortable position and allow yourself to feel the energy flowing from the top of your head all the way down your spine, straight into the earth. This is the ideal position if that's comfortable for you, but do what feels right. And as you settle into a position that feels right for you, you can look down or close your eyes, whatever feels right. And take a second to settle in, to bring your energy into this meditation, this moment, to feel the support as you open your heart, your soul, your energy within the safety of this soul field to receive this transformation.
We're going to work today with what we call the divine breath of life. And what we mean by this is that there's breath that we take daily to keep these biospiritual systems alive and functioning. And then there's breath we can take with intention. And when we breathe with intent, and the intent being to connect with grace, with what might be called in other traditions prana, with the sacred nourishment that's available in the universal energy field, we actually pull a different frequency into our bodies with the breath. And so we're going to intend today to simply bring the breath into that octave, to the octave of sacred. And so you'll pause for just a moment, and you'll actually pause the breath until you feel a sense of like the breath coming to you. This is really the whole of the universe coming to inspire you, the pulse of life. And when it comes, you'll deeply receive, you'll allow a deep receiving, what we might call in-breath, of all that beauty. And then as you breathe out, it's like a holy exchange. You release all that's complete into that sacred field, knowing it can be easily transmuted. And you feel it. It's like the breath becomes like sensational. There's sparkles of light, there's warmth, there's tingling, there's a sense of the cosmic field around you. The skin feels different and the air feels different when we enter into this holy breath pattern. And as you do this, you might feel sensation in the upper chest already, what we call the ascension heart. And you might feel sensation other places in the body. And wherever the body is bringing you, you receive that sacred breath into those places. And you offer back what you are complete with from those places. Every breath is a holy exchange. And that's tangible. It's not an imagining. You can feel it. If you're a seer, you can see it. As this continues, you feel yourself settling more into the back of the body and even down to the back, low back, sacrum, tailbone. It's like an energy just starts tingling down there and you settle. And you begin to feel a kind of stillness. There's like this aliveness in the cells and in the feeling body and in the space around you. And there's a great stillness, a sacred stillness, a quiet mind. And you can feel here in this field, in this intentional divine breath of life experience. You can feel a quality of reverence. It's just there. Reverence is that part of you that's leaning in, that's deeply receiving, and that's leaning in and deeply receiving because it can feel the sacredness of each breath, the divine inspiration truly with each breath. On the next holy inhalation, feel yourself bring breath with intention into the upper chest, that place where we were tapping earlier. And as you breathe out, feel yourself letting that energy center open and release any tension, any holding, anything inherited, anything you've brought with you that would block the light illuminating this place. And so you just keep bringing that divine breath of life in there and releasing. And perhaps you know some of what you're releasing cognitively. And perhaps you have no cognitive idea. It doesn't matter. The simplicity of your intention will be all that's needed, because this grace that you're breathing in, this prana, it knows what's ready to be dislodged and what's ready to be activated. Then you allow. Here in this space, a new light is beaming. And it's a remembrance. And with each breath, you let that light build. And you receive the nourishment, the feelings of goodness that are here. And you might feel that energy becoming big, and your head may naturally lift to make space. It doesn't need to, but it may. And if it does, you just give permission. Each receiving of breath is a drawing in the divine breath of life. Each breath out, an offering. And maybe you feel done. There's nothing more to release, and maybe there's still releasing on the out breath. But if it doesn't feel like there's release, feel yourself offering your light, this illumination that is infinite on the out breath. This holy exchange, becoming more and more light, giving more and more light. Feeling the goodness, the sensations that feel pleasurable and nourishing, and receiving the divine breath of life into those places and amplifying that. And feeling how the breath becomes this sacred looping of light You draw in the divine light. You spark the remembrance of who you are. You breathe that out as a sacred offering, and then more light comes to you. And it's just this beautiful, exquisite dance. Beloveds, this is your I am presence. This is the isness. This is who and what you are. Feel yourself having an internal and maybe even an external smile. Just the gratitude of this remembrance, this visceral remembrance. It's not a concept. You can feel it. And let that smile and that gratitude for the remembrance expand. Let this remembrance start to float out through your life, through all your relationships, through all your doing, through all your experiencing. Just feel it like when you take a piece of when you like we're doing watercolors and you take that sort of wet paintbrush with a color and you touch it and it spreads. This light is just spreading through your life. And it might have a color, but it might not. For me, when I feel it, it feels like sparkling glitters that are going in every direction, like when you catch the sunlight and you can see all those like glittery particles. It's like that, flowing everywhere. And each breath, it amplifies the light, it wets the paintbrush, and more spreads. And we can feel it together in the field that we are co-creating, those of us live and those of us on the recording in the eternal now. This exquisite remembrance. I am that. I am. And so as you rest here, we're going to play our song. That's our reflection song for this series. Beautiful song by Faith Rivera. I will surrender.
Openness, that heart openness. that reverence for who you are, the I am presence. And if it feels aligned, you may share in the chat what came for you, how your experience was.
Mhm.
Share it so we can all support you and see it with you.
And I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording.
Yeah, we just definitely experience. Oh, yes. We just share such a beautiful experience with all of you, and thank you for sharing with us live um, the magnificent light that I see that it touched so many of us. It was just so joyful to see the recognition of that light within you, the light all around us. And thank you. And then, of course, that's one of the benefits of participating live, that you get to hear others' experiences and enjoy it. And those in the recording, just know that it was phenomenal. It was,
And you're in the field, right? Because this is one of the things that we said when we were in our little conversation with those of us who are live is that, it says in our initial prayer, and it says this for a reason. It says in our closing prayer, we are one. And
yes,
so as you're receiving this via recording in the eternal now, you're also receiving the healing of everyone that was with us live and everyone else who will be with us via recording across time and space. We
yes,
are interconnected in this
yes,
whole field.
yes, 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 yes. So as we are heading out, transitioning into closing the field, I want to share real quick the links to our Facebook group Soul Field, our YouTube channel, so you can watch the replays or just forward it to people you believe will benefit from this. Is Soul Field Experience for YouTube, Soul Field Experience. Our Instagram account is the Soul Field, and our website, soulfield.org. On our website, you can actually choose to add these events to your calendar. So you always have a reminder on your calendar. And I'm also adding our PayPal donation. And I just want to say thank you for those who donate for these experiences. It really helps us create more and support those that sometimes need our support through our tithing and your tithing. And we have our next event is going to be on December 12th. Do you want to speak about that a little bit?
Oh, uh, is it? No, we actually have a November event.
Oh, November.
Yeah,
That's right.
what
The 4th.
we are doing our next event. Let me pull it up on the calendar, on the Soulfield calendar.
Yes.
Our next event is on the fourth Sunday, which will be November 24th. And then where we're shifting that Nancy is speaking to is that we're actually going to the next Soulfield Sunday would normally be I think December 8th, but we're going to make it sooner. We're going to make it December 1st. And so just we're going to go adjusting for the holidays. And so next time at our normal time, and this if you're signed up for the calendar, it will be on there. But next time our normal time will be on Sunday the 24th, and then Sunday December 1st will be the one after that. So that's the little skip. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And we created a retreat for January 17th to the 19th in La Jolla. And it's a weekend in-person retreat where you get to stay with us the whole weekend and experience magic and transformations. And we're really excited for this retreat to come up. It actually sold out very quickly. I think we have maybe one space left, and that's so
Maybe.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, and
But we
so
will have a wait list just in case something were to happen. So if you are interested and you receive that email, then certainly reach out to us. And
yes,
shall we shall we close with our closing prayer?
Yes, bringing it up as we speak.
Thank you. I'm camping. You can all see this. And I actually forgot to bring my computer. So everything is on Nancy today to have all the things pulled up. Normally we share that. And it was last minute, like, Nancy, it's you. You're all the things.
Yes,
Oh,
let's
here we
go.
are. Oh, we are deeply grateful. And we did experience miraculous communion with our holy wholeness in the soul field. We wholeheartedly receive the upliftment of one another's communion and blessed soul light. Take that in. Let yourself do that. As we close this formal gathering, we each in our own way will continue dwelling in the soul field and supporting our collective evolution. With deep gratitude, we thank one another, all our angels, guides, and guardians. Remembering as we minister to ourselves, we uplift one another. We encourage the magic we co created to ripple out to all our relations for the benefit of all beings.
Estamos profundamente agradecidos por esta experiencia milagrosa de comunión con nuestro ser sagrado aquí en el campo del alma. De todo corazón recibimos la comunión de cada uno de nosotros y de la luz de nuestra alma divina. Al culminar formalmente esta congregación, cada uno de nosotros de manera personal permaneceremos en el campo del alma, apoyando nuestra evolución colectiva. Con profunda humildad agradecemos el uno al otro y a nuestros ancestros, ángeles, guías y guardianes de luz, recordando que cuando predicamos con nuestro ejemplo, nos elevamos el uno al otro y alentamos la magia que acabamos de co-crear para que se expanda a todos para el beneficio de la humanidad. And so we're closing with blowing our candles and remembering that you're always welcome to leave in the temple of divine perfection that which no longer serves you or needs to be recycled. Thank you for joining us, everybody. It was
We
really
love
beautiful.
you so much. Have a beautiful Sunday. We'll see you hopefully live on the 24th.
Yes. See you.
Blessings.
Bye.